Next question will be started out with David. It says, do you support the Convention of States idea endorsed by Governor Abbott, which would impose fiscal restraints on federal government, limit the power and jurisdiction of federal government, and limit the terms of office of federal officials and members of Congress?
I think Article 5 Convention is a legitimate constitutional remedy to out-of-control federal government. And I do think the amendments that Governor Abbott has proposed are very worthy of considering, particularly for things that wholly happen within a state. Shouldn't be interpreted as breaking the Interstate Commerce Code, or not even having commerce, as in the case of one instance they ruled that that was violating the Commerce Clause. And I do think those are things we need to deal with. But I have a greater concern. We have a good Constitution, but we're not using it. We have good amendments, but we're not following them. For instance, in this session, we passed a retroactive bill for the city of Fort Worth for the Major Events Fund. They'd missed the deadline for this corporate welfare program. And so a bill was proposed to fix it. And the comptroller wrote about it, said the only way you can fix it is to do it retroactively. But our Constitution, the state and federal constitutions, both prohibit passing ex post facto laws, laws that are retroactive or impair contracts. And I opposed it, and others like it. But it went ahead and passed. The problem is not so much our Constitution or what's in it. The problem is the people that are not upholding their oath. That is a bigger issue. I'm concerned not only with the people we send there to change it, I'm concerned about us upholding our legislative rules and our Constitution right now. We're not doing it, and we should.
Yes, I would support it, and I've said that long before the governor came out and supported Article 5 Convention. This is not a radical idea, okay? This is something the founders gave us, a tool to use. I know, I hear people sometimes saying, oh, what a radical thing. What a radical thing, Convention of the States. But on the same token, they'll say, oh, I support gun rights. I support First Amendment. I support the Constitution. You don't get to have it both ways. Either you support the Constitution completely, or you don't. You don't get to pick and choose Obama style. The Convention of the States is a tool. Now, I will agree, and I said for a long time, you need to be careful. There are checks and balances in there, but my biggest concern are the rhinos. My biggest concern are those liberals who have run as Republicans and are in office and claim to be conservatives. The Convention of the States is going to happen. It may not be tomorrow, it may not be next year, it may not be next decade, but it's coming sooner or later. We need to be prepared for it. One, we need to clean out our party and make sure we've got good, sound conservatives in there before that happens. But the other thing we have to do is make sure that we have all our ducks in a row before we go down that road. But it is a tool that the founders gave us to take back the powers from someone like Obama, who could care less about the Constitution. And David's right. He's right in some sense there. How are you going to enforce it? Well, that's what the Convention of the States is going to do. The Convention of the States are going to do exactly that. And I would support it. But we better be careful. It's necessary and it's going to happen sooner or later.
As you guys know, our founders gave us two methods for amending the Constitution, right? We've amended the Constitution 27 times, and each time has been using the other method, the method where Congress proposes amendments and then they're ratified by the states, by the people. That's the only method we've ever used. The convention is a tool they've given us, but I think some folks in here will recall that as conservatives in America, the conventional thought has been a convention of the states is a tool, it's something we should look at very seriously, because once a convention is called, there's really no way to control what comes out of it. As you'll recall, we got our Constitution from a convention that was called to amend the Articles of Confederation. Now, we liked the Constitution they came up with, but that was more than they were authorized to do at the time. So it's something we have to keep in mind. It's an important tool, and we're in a crisis. We have to do everything we can to push back against the feds. And so here's what I think one solution would be. We have to put strict limits on the people we send as delegates to a convention. What do I mean by that? If we in Texas say, we're going to send you to represent us, and we want you to vote for a balanced budget amendment, and those are your instructions. We want to make sure that when you get there, you don't do anything else. You don't vote for something we didn't ask you to vote for. And different states have come up with different ideas, because we can tell them no, we can tell them it's void, but once they put that amendment out there, we can't pull it back. So the state of Indiana has said, we're going to put strict limits on our delegates. We're going to tell our delegates, if we send you to vote on a particular amendment and you vote for something beyond that, we're going to lock you up. That's right, criminal penalties. Don't we agree our Constitution is serious enough? We should hold these folks accountable. So my position has been, if we can put criminal penalties on the delegates, then we need to look at a convention of states. But until we can do that, we can't. And so this last legislative session, the bill that was going to limit the delegates had criminal penalties, then they were taken out. So based on that, I had to vote no. David and I both voted no. Let's do it. Let's be cautious with it. We have a great Constitution. Let's guard it jealously and don't throw it away.
There's an ongoing argument about that, and I know we've argued about it several times. Most of the constitutional scholars say that the state houses, okay, that the state legislatures can limit the scope of the Constitutional Convention. Now, we need to clarify that. I'll agree with my friends up here that, yeah, we need to know that before we go down that road. But also remember that it has to be ratified by 3/4 of the states. So there are checks and balances there.
Go ahead, stay on up there, Mike. We'll ask this last question, then we'll have closing comments.
Okay, making an easy one. I'm getting tired.
Yeah.